Welcome back to another video of Back Garden Tips. We have another LT80 coming, that's coming for repairs. As you can see at the moment, quad starts straight up, but if you can hear that noise from down here, it's making a whining noise, which I believe it's probably to do with the plastic fan on flywheel. Is making that whining noise, and when it's got a high tick over, so that just needs turning down. Another thing is, but when you're pressing the throttle, the quad's not wanting to move anywhere, so it's looking like the clutch or the belt or the rollers. So I'm gonna have to dig into both sides and see what's going on. So first side I'm gonna dig into is the flywheel side, and then the second time I'm going to get into its clutch side and see what's going on, and hopefully we can sort this out for the customer. You can see my breath because it's absolutely freezing in this fucking shed. But yeah, stick with us and let's see if we can find out what this problem is with quad together. And yeah, if you like what you see, give us a like and subscribe. Just keeps these videos going. It's just a hobby really, more than all. But yeah, let's get into it and let's see what's going on. Right, so I've skipped into it a little bit now. Took out boring stuff off, obviously. Took out screws out. If you haven't done an LT80 before, you've got two little star screws there. Then all these are little 10mm heads. You've got two other side. What I've done is I've took all the plastics off so you can see. Obviously that whining noise that I showed you on the video is due to this. That's broke. And it's whining and it's catching. It's catching on them teeth. Now what they're doing, they're getting hot because of the vibration, and that one's shaped out way now. The flywheel's absolutely mint. What it is it's that flywheel there. Can you see it? Obviously zoomed in now. This has failed, and what it's been doing when the engine's been spinning, it's been catching that, and that's what we're making that whining noise. Now what else I found out is as well, that fuel tap, standard one, common fault, always leak. When they leak, they run off compression. You see, you put them on prime, which is on, and then when you put it on, the compression pipe sucks fuel through, and what it does is, when these start leaking, it throws petrol straight into the manifold, which then in case does this, floods all your engine with fuel, because it starts coming out your crank seal and fills this up. And then when engine's spinning, it's spitting all your fuel up in air. I've had spark plug out. Look at that. Getting way too much fuel. And that's all caused because of this. And what I do is, I go on eBay, £10 roughly. You get where it says reserves on and off. So what I do is reserves on and off instead of this prime bullshit and this compression. But what you have to do is, when you change your tap to that, it stops obviously flooding your crankcases out. But the pipe that your compression goes to, you have to put a pipe and a little cap on there to block that off. You can't just leave it open. So when you do the fuel tap mod, you need to block that little pipe off there. But let's get into it more, because now I've done this, I've got to clean this side up. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this out, or I'm going to try order him another one, see what he wants to do, see if he just wants to chop that off there so it stops catching on that, or if he wants me to order a new one, that's up to the customer. And then what I'll do is I'll get into the clutch side now and see what's going on with the belt and the rollers and that, because obviously when I'm revving it up, it's not going nowhere, so something's wrong with the drive. So stick with me and let's find this out together. Right, so I've skipped to the part where I've took carb off, because I don't want to bore you with all the you know what you're doing. On the air filter side, you've got a little Jubilee clip, star screwdriver, 2 8mm to take the bolt off if they're the original bolt. So what I've done is I've stripped the carb. Before I take the carb apart, what I do is I wash it with petrol and a toothbrush. You want to get all the muck off of the outside of it, so when you open it up, the muck's not falling in. I haven't took the choke out yet, which I will do anyway while I'm cleaning. And I ain't cleaned the bottom of that yet because it's looking a bit cruddy. But as what I've done so far is I've cleaned the outside of the carb, I've got the ball off, I put stuff on a t-shirt because you know what it's like when you drop something, it just disappears to a totally different side at garage you've even been working on. So basically you want to clean your floats off, you want to inspect your float level needle adjuster there, make sure that that's set right. And what you want to do is you want to hold your jets up to the light. I can't do it here. Well, I can. You want to hold your jets up to the light and make sure that they are clear. If not, what I use is you can use carb cleaner. Obviously, petrol itself will clean them. And then I use my air compressor and blow it through. You want to make sure that, I don't get it right, you want to be able to see through all the little holes in your jets. This is the idle jet. See, that's clear. I've already cleaned these out, you see. And then this is the your needle jet. You want to make sure sometimes them points there, sometimes the rubber and sometimes they're just steel. If the rubber, you want to make sure that they aren't split or ripped, because then it'll leak fuel through there, because that's what opens your fuel up. So when you turn your petrol on and your carbs just flowing fuel straight out overflow, on these they have one at bottom there which can chuck it out, or if it fills up too much it will chuck it out of there. But if you're constantly flowing, say you're getting a drip from here, right, that's because your carb's flooded and that your float level is not shutting off correctly. So obviously I'm not going to show you cleaning carb because that's the boring bit, but I'm just explaining what I do. And when I start putting it back together, so what I do is when I start putting the floats back in, and you'll see you hold your carb up level, right, and you'll see your floats sit, yeah. So what I do is I put a pipe on where the fuel goes so I can blow through with my mouth, right, and I put a bit of pressure on with my breath, and obviously I blow through, right, and with your carb upside down, that should lock off and you should not be able to blow anything through there. If you can blow through there, right, that means your float level's not set right and it's going to leak as soon as you turn your fuel on. So what I do is get your carb, obviously, with all your floats and your levels on, have your carb level, start blowing through it, because obviously you've got the pipe in the mouth, turn your carb upside down, and when your floats flip the other way, it should lock off, right, and you should not be able to blow through it. If you can blow through it, it's either the seal, sorry, it's either the seal on there could be leaking. Under in that brass thing there's a little black seal that obviously you take that star screwdriver out, needle nose pliers, pull that out, there'll be a seal on there that could stop it from leaking. Or your little needle there is not blocking that hole up. See, that could get a bit mucky. So obviously you want to check that before you put your carb back together, otherwise you're just wasting your time. So that's where we're at with the carb. I'm just on with cleaning, because with the LT80, like I showed you, it starts up but it's revving high. The actual black O-ring, you've got your black manifold gasket there, plastic, and it has a little black O-ring on it. On the side, the O-ring were trapped, hanging out, so it had been sucking air in there, which would have been causing it to rev high as well. I mean, I could have just adjusted my tick over screw, but obviously with it sucking air in, adjusting that would just be pointless. So what I'm going to do is obviously put it all back together, make sure the seal's in properly and correctly, make sure the carb's put back to correctly. Then I'll start the quad up and see if it's still ticking over right. If it's still ticking over right, then we can adjust this, but there's no point in adjusting this until I had the seal in there sealed correctly, otherwise it's just going to leak. And then what I've got to do then is I'm taking the clutch side case off, and I'm going to bolt the starter motor up so I can start the quad up with the clutch case off, because obviously your two bolts go through the clutch case. Your two bolts go through clutch case. So I've already undone all these. I've just got to take a couple of bolts out. The clutch case can come off. Your two starter motor bolts are there and there, but when the clutch is off, clutch case is off, your starter motor's not held in. So what I'll do is I use smaller bolts and put them through the crankcase itself and just tighten that up. Then you will be able to start your quad with your clutch case on, and if it's revving up perfect like it should be doing, after I've cleaned up carb and fixed everything, because I've cleaned everything else up, if the quad's still not going, and then I'll be able to see if it's a clutch that's slipping. But hopefully once I've sorted the carb, I think that's probably what's caused it, why it wasn't revving up and why it wasn't going anywhere, because it was sucking air in and not revving right. So I'm hoping once I fix the carb and put all that back on, we should be there, and I'll be able to test. I've got the new fuel tap for the tank because that were leaking. That's just come. I've been waiting for parts, so it's took a little bit of time. So then I can put the new fuel tap on, so it's definitely not leaking and it's not going to flood all the crankcases up like it did last time. And then yeah, see where we get with that. So stick with me, and I'll next clip will probably be me showing you clutch and what's going on there. If the quad's not running right when the carb's gone back on. If the carb's gone back on, I'll probably skip it to where I've got all plastics back on and it's starting up and going. Because I don't want to bore you. Just every little step that stops me, I like to show you on the video, just in case you's come across a problem as well. Because if you haven't seen problems, if there's videos out there explaining how I've solved it or how you've solved it, and I watch them videos, and it's all obviously it's all helping people, isn't it, really? So that's what these videos are about. It's just videoing little problems that I come up against and how I solve them. So yeah, and because sometimes YouTube's always your place to go, but sometimes you can type in YouTube and nobody's made a video before. Obviously LTL is common, so there's going to be lots of videos out there, but I just like to add to it and do my little bit. So yeah. Right, so I've skipped it to the part where I've touched the clutch case off, and as soon as I took all the bolts out, I don't know if you can see all down there, see all that grease and oil there? So I believe the reason why it wasn't going is I think that belt was slipping, because the belt's nice and tight. That's springing in, but in the case is all the oil there, so I don't know if it's the gearbox seal that's give way, and that's what's caused it to slip. So I'm just skipping into this video because it's time taking, obviously videoing me taking the clutch case off and everything. I stand quad up on end, take the bottom bash plate off so you can get the clutch plate out here and get it past. It's still got the oil pump on there, but all that in there is absolutely caked with oil. So I'm going to strip all this off, clean it all up, and to be honest, it looks like that clutch has been getting a little bit hot. So I'm going to have to inspect all pads. I'm going to take all this off, inspect all rollers in there, make sure they're alright and I've got no flat edges on them and everything. But to be honest, the belt is looking wet through. So to be honest, I think it's either the gearbox seal's gone, because this case already had bolts missing out, so somebody's had this off. So it's a matter of fact of why have they had it off and why haven't they put all the bolts back in, do you know what I mean? And if somebody has put oil in there, because what people do, some people grease them up, grease the rollers up in there, and obviously that can turn into liquid shit and obviously stop the rollers. They think it makes the rollers from sticking, but the best thing to do with them rollers is clean them and leave them with no grease, because the grease is what gets the belt dusting and gunks up and then sticks them and makes them wear down. The best off just being clean left with clean plastic and the metal for them to slide up and forwards. But yeah, my next bit is to strip all this and see what's going on here, like. So I'll keep you updated on there and how far I get. So here we are. I've skipped it a bit where I've got the clutch off, as you can see, caked in oil, which I believe, I think it's that seal, and I think that the gearbox oil has leaked out. But I took the clutch off, and the clutch pads, plenty of chunk on them, they're just caked in oil, so there's plenty of clutch on them, so that's why it was slipping. The belt, as you can see, is caked in oil, so it's gonna need a new one. But yeah, all the oil seems to be coming from there, and it all spilled out on the floor last night. So next thing I'm going to try is I'm going to clean all this off first, and then I'll drain the oil plug, sump bolt, and see if any oil comes out. If it don't, then I think it's that seal, or it could be that one seal, but that seal looks pretty well, to be honest. You can't see, And I can't put light on because my battery's literally just about to drop dead. But that's it. So clutch is off. Took that off. It's hard to see. Fucking took that off. And I think it's still running the restrictor washer on the back of it. On the back of variator pulley, because that's stopping belt going all the way down. So I'll be looking into that, and if it is a restrictor washer, which I believe it is, that'll be coming off when I speak to the customer, because obviously he wants it to move. And like I say, we can test, but yeah, as you can see, that got pretty hot with it slipping. So all that needs de-oiling, so I'll be sticking in some petrol or something to clean it all off and drying and everything before it all goes back together. But yeah, I skipped it in. The variator pulley all seemed bang on, nice and tight. As soon as I turn that, wheels are wanting to go, so that's sound, you know what I mean? I can do that with my hand. I can't do it because other wheels on the other side, but yeah, so I've skipped into it there. And what I'll do is I'll show you if I take all this off, I'll end up showing you in there. But for now, that's just where I've got to. Right, so here we have it. Obviously I've skipped in to where we got. I got all this off. I believe that gasket there looks a bit naughty, so I'm going to put a new one on. I think it was leaking oil from there, because you can see I've had to link quad on the side. Gearbox looks perfect, nice and smooth, everything. I did drain the oil bolt out there, and it did come out with 80mm, and people say that 80mm of oil is what the gearbox takes. So it did have the correct amount in. So I don't know where all that oil came from, because it looked like it had water in it as well. Now, yeah, kicked in obviously. Shit, that all needs cleaning up now, but I don't know why, because the oil that's come out of it looks pretty clean, to be honest. So I don't know if it is that gasket that we're leaking, but it does look like it. We're looking at the state of it. The bolts weren't overly that tight, so I'm guessing the oil will just slipping by. So I'm going to put a new gasket on it. Seeing as how all the variator and everything looks fine, so I'll put a new gasket on this, put it all back together, fresh oil in it. I'll rebuild and put all the clutch back on how it's meant to be, and then yeah, it's literally just start it up and see where we go from there, see if it's working. So like I said, I showed you the other day, when you turn this, the wheels turn, so everything in there's sweet. It's not that what's making it not drive. And the variator's fine, I've cleaned all that up, but apart from, like I said, somebody put a load of grease in where variator rollers go, which on the LT80 manual it states that it's got to be dry. So I don't know why they've put grease in there. They must have thought it helped the rollers spin, but yeah, it just chocks up dirt and everything. So yeah, it's just a matter of put it all back together now, fresh gasket on it, and yeah, we can take it from there, because there's no crack in that gearbox part there. You can't really see with light to let oil out, and it had the right amount of oil in there. So yeah, what I'll do is I'll I'll crack on with it, and I'll skip it to the part where it's got all rebuilt back up, and we'll get it started and see if it actually drives now, and see if I've solved the problem. So stick with me, and I'll do this little bit and get it back together. But when I take stuff out, always put the bolts in order from when you take them out, because look at them, they're obviously different sizes, so they need to go back in the right order. Now I always start from left side and I go anti-clockwise, same with the bolt pattern. Sometimes I have cardboard, and if it's going to be apart for a while, I have cardboard, I write what the bolts are for, and I just poke the bolts in order through the cardboard, which normally helps me. So, because sometimes when you're working from job to job, and you're waiting, say, a week for parts, say things have got to come off eBay or wherever they're coming from, and you come back and you think, oh, how's it go back together? Well, that's my idea. So when you just look at the cardboard, when it's wrote down, boom, that's where it goes, straight back together. So yeah, stick with me, and we'll find out what's wrong with this eventually. Thanks for watching. Right guys, so quad's all back together now. I've skipped it from obviously the last part where I was showing you what's wrong with the clutch. Quad's running min, revving up, drives up straight away. So basically, I'll just turn the fuel off. Basically, when quad came to me, it'd start up, but it was high revving and it would not drive. And then we realised that that bracket there between the manifold and the carb were cracked and it was sucking in air, which was causing it to rev up high. So I ordered a new one of them. I've put a new petrol tap on it because it was leaking, so I've swapped that out. And I've also stripped and cleaned out gearbox, put all the belt back together. The rollers were caked in grease, which I showed people. Yeah, so basically somebody had put a load of grease in the rollers thinking that was going to help them slide, but all that does is it clogs them up and stops them. And then I've stripped the clutch, had all the gearbox gasket off. I've put brand new fresh oil in there now, and yeah, she runs and drives sweet. So that was the problem of why it wasn't driving, because when I took the case off there was oil in there, and it obviously all the belt got caked in oil and it was slipping on the clutch. So all I've done is stripped everything, cleaned it all, put it back together, and she's working fine. So that was the problem with the clutch. So another happy lad, and now the quad's on their way back to the customer. So if you like the videos, like and subscribe, and watch out for the next videos of back garden tips. Thanks for watching.